So the first thing that I like to have are all my textbook sections written out, whatever week we're in, the sections from the textbook, and maybe the title that your teacher has given. And then I just go down and cross off the ones that I've done, and this goes all the way down until the end of the semester. So now we're going to look at where I am right now, week 8. So I'm going to see what the sections are, I'm going to check out, and I'm going to see what the title of the section is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the entire section of 14.1, and then I'm going to continue on to the next section of this entire week that we're covering right now. What you want to make note of while you're reading are any vocabulary words that you might see, any people that might be mentioned, any theories, and anything else just like that. What the topics are called, pay attention to the headings, and just keep looking for all these words. Maybe take a second to look at these diagrams and really examine them, but you don't have to go super in depth and read every single word. Just make note of all these little words that are in there and all the key concepts. Now the next thing that I do is I go to the lecture podcast that my teacher has uploaded, and I find the week that we're in. So right here, week 8, lecture 1 is right here, so I'm going to go ahead and download that. So as you might be able to tell, this recording is very long. It is 50 minutes, but that is because it is the end of week 7 and the start of week 8. So what I'm going to do is just browse through until I find the start of the week 8 topic, and I'm just going to listen to that. And if you want, you can take notes on it. You don't have to. This is just for you to know the general topics that you should focus on in the textbook and what you should really take notes on. Now, I also know that not everyone's teachers give them audio recordings of the lectures, and if your teachers give you slides instead, look at the presentation and look through all the slides and skim them. So the first thing I will do is I will open up my textbook and my notes on 2 different tabs on GoodNotes. And the way to do that is you click on this little button. The first thing is make sure that you have both of them open in 2 different tabs. Then you go ahead on this button, click open a new window, and I like to have my textbook on the left because I am a righty, so it'll be easier to write here and read here. And then the other thing that I do is move it over like this, because I can still see clearly when the textbook is this small, and it gives me a lot more space for my notes. Now, how I usually take my notes is I put the title up at the top in big letters, and I don't put this title from the textbook up. I usually put the one that is written on my syllabus, so that way I stay on track in the class, because the textbook title does not matter as much as what my teacher or professor is actually talking about. So then underneath that, I will put my section title, which would be right here, what is personality? That's what I would consider the section title. And right underneath that, there is an objective question, and I copy that down, and I keep that in mind as the focus of this section. So I don't actually answer it, I just write it down so that I know that is what this section is trying to answer, and those are the things that I will focus on when I'm taking my notes. So once I've copied down the objective question, I will start to just take my notes. So let's say I'm reading, let me just move it over like this so you can see. So let's say I'm reading, psychologists have varied ways to view and study personality. So I see that personality is a vocabulary word. So before I even take any notes about personality, what I would do is choose a different color, write personality, and then write the definition in the normal color that I'm taking my notes in. So once I've got the definition, I can go ahead and keep reading, because now I know what personality is defined as. So I keep reading, and then I see that there's a significant name, and what I do for significant names is I put it also in a different color. So I would write name, this would actually be the regular pen color. So I would write name and whatever they have written about that name. So here they're talking about his psychoanalytic theory. So I would just write Sigmund Freud, psychoanalytic theory, just as a note that I know he is the one who wrote about it or studied it, just so I know something about him. What my professor also does is provide us a list of names that we should know. So especially if that name is on that list, I want to take good extensive notes on what that person did and why they're important in psychology. So then I just keep reading and I keep taking my notes. Anything that is italicized is probably important, so I try and take a note of that. The thing is, I don't just write down what's in italics, I actually write down why it's italicized. So for example, I wouldn't just write social cognitive theories, I would write social cognitive theories explore the interaction between people's traits and their social context. I would make sure that I know why I'm writing down that term or note. So then I'm just gonna move on, and I would not consider this a new section title. I would actually consider it a subsection title because it does not come with an objective question. So then I would put it in this color, and I would continue taking all my notes the same way. So here are vocabulary words, so I would put them in green, write my definition, and keep reading for any other important notes. And then we get to section 14.2, which would be the next section title with its objective question and whatever other notes, vocabulary, or significant names I need to know. Now, what I do whenever I come up on a study is, first of all, I check if it is in my syllabus. My teacher wrote a list of all the studies that we discuss in class and all the studies that we should know for the final. So I usually only write down those in my notes. So I will just cross-reference with my syllabus to make sure that it is a study that I should be taking notes on. I box it out, put the study name on the top in red, and then I just give a description of the study, like who's participating, are they random people, were they selected, what is the study trying to achieve and find out, and any other important details. I also like to copy down these tables from the sections because they organize the information really well. And I think that just taking a screenshot of it and putting it into my notes would not make me learn the information. It would just be way too easy. I wouldn't have to actually read it. I would just have to cut and paste. So what I do is I actually draw out the whole table. I like to use the blue pen for this. And I will just make the lines for the table, write down the sections. So let's say stage and focus. And then, I'll box it out once again. And then in the regular pen color, I just write down wherever the stages are. And once again, I separate it with the blue. So the reason that I make a lot of this text in the regular pen color is so that I'm not overloaded with too many colors and just too much decoration once I'm reading my notes. I want to be able to read my notes and find all the significant things like vocabulary, name, the subsections, tables, and studies, but without being overloaded with so much information. So one thing that I mentioned is that my teacher gives us all these studies to know. So what I did is compile all of them into one Word document where I have the name of the study, the description, groups, differences, and the conclusion of the study. And I will fill in all of that information for each of these studies once I'm done taking my notes on them, and that way it will be fresh in my mind right before the final. The same thing goes for names to know. My teacher gave us a list and I have put it into this one Word file, and there's not a lot of names, which is good. So for each of these names, this is the information I want to have, what they did, why it was important, and what did they contribute. And I'm going to do this for each of the people that we have to know. So once again, I will have the information fresh in my mind after I've taken all my notes. On top of the podcasts and the notes that I do, we also have weekly quizzes in our psych recitation class. And those are 3 questions every week. So I take those questions, our TA sends us PDFs or files of them. So what I do is I type them out, put down the answers, and I try and mix them up so that once I am retaking this quiz at the end of the semester, right before the final, I'm not relying on my information of what topic the question is pertaining to or where the answer is underneath the question, if that makes any sense. So even like A, B, C, and D, I've mixed up for each of these questions. So I've moved like D up to B because our TA does provide us with an answer key. So I don't want to rely on knowing that the answer for this question is B. I want it to be a random question, actually testing my knowledge, not my memorization of where the answer was on the answer key. On top of the names to know, quizzes, and studies, I also compile all of the vocabulary words into one giant Quizlet so that I can study them on the go or just anytime that I have free time and can be on my phone. Alright, so thank you so much for watching, guys. I know that not all of these methods will work for everyone, but I hope that you could take away something from this and find something that does work for you, and hopefully you can apply the same study method to other classes that you're taking.